Hello, everyone. I am. Oh, did that record properly? I'll just start here. Hello, everyone. I am the seventh most famous little Alchemist player here with at least top five, one of the top five most famous little Alchemist streamers. And I've been getting so many requests for streams, for content of Little Alchemist, that I finally caved and decided, you know what? Fuck it. You want to know what there doesn't exist of for Little Alchemist? A fucking podcast. So we're doing a podcast today with everyone's favorite Discord mod, or least favorite Discord mod, Jark the Triad.
How's it going, guys?
Alright. Did you like my YouTuber intro?
That was amazing.
I'm like,
That was
can you
beautiful.
can you feel how different my personality is from like last night when I was talking to you in the Discord call?
Hey, you gotta be good on the YouTube grind.
Exactly. You just need to be entertaining. No one cares about what you do. You just gotta be fun about it. Anyways, I mean, this is only gonna be our first little burst here, so I have three questions that I've lined up because it's all I was able to come up with in such a short period of time. Because I definitely was totally ready for all of this, and what am not doing such a jank recording of this on my OBS and just going to be stealing the audio from that after. That is not what's happening. So, anyways,
Definitely not.
first question that I have is like, who do people know you as, Jark? Like if I were to show this video to someone who's not familiar with the Little Alchemist community at all, how would you describe to them how you're known in the Little Alchemist community?
That's a very good question. Platt, thank you.
I
I
know.
think
I'm very good at asking questions.
I think it depends on who you ask. I think a large portion of the community knows me as by far one of the most active mods in the server who generally has decent advice, though sometimes I do stupid stuff. And as my Discord bio says, I spend a lot of money, or I waste a lot of money on video games.
Your Discord
And
bio for me just says attempting world domination, so
oh yeah, you gotta click on my name on the server. Sorry, it says I waste a ton of
ah.
money on video games. Enough said. And that's kind of what I do with Little Alchemist is I spend money and show people what the new Onyxes do because that's how dumb I am.
So I feel as if context is needed here where we're talking about the Lil Alchemist Discord server. If you've somehow stumbled across this video without being on the Lil Alchemist Discord server, I'll put a link down below, but it's basically just the social hub, just like even like the hub for the whole game of Lil Alchemist in general, where just everything for the game happens because do you agree with this statement, Jark, where like the game Little Alchemist itself can get kind of repetitive and boring?
I would have to agree. I This is something that I've been open about on the server. I definitely spend more time on the Discord than I do on the actual game because that's sometimes how it goes.
Yeah. And I feel as
With
if
everything.
that's just how it is supposed to go with Little Alchemist. Because, like, at the end of the game, at the end of the day, it is just a cute little silly card collecting game, right?
Yeah, but the community is great. It really, really boosts it to a whole new level.
I my perspective of the community is very different from yours, which is surprising because you would think it'd be the inverse, you being a mod and all that. Where like I find the community not like very toxic, but like vaguely toxic, right?
That is, yeah, you would expect that to be coming from me, not you.
Yeah, because my engagement with the community is I show up like a cryptid like once every month or two, and then I drop some sort of I start some sort of well, okay, part of it's on me because I mean the last time I dropped in on the community that I remembered, there was like this guy who is like, yeah, this card is bad. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It is bad in a tiebreaker deck, but it's OP in a stall deck. And then he had a little fight with me about that. I'm like, okay. And then I just left.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that happens, I think it's just a Discord thing in general, is there's definitely very different opinions. And one thing that Lil Alchemist loves to do is have people debate whether or not Absorb is overpowered now, whether or not Tiebreaker is still the best ability, whether or not this, whether or not that. And um, sometimes that can get quite repetitive, and sometimes that can get pretty toxic, especially when people feel like their opinion is not being accepted or voiced properly.
Yeah. I feel as if like I understand why people do it as well because just straight up what else are you going to do in the game, right? Like what else is there to do except talk about all of the little minute changes that come once like there's new packs that get released constantly, but like balance updates we get one very infrequently.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love some new content. It's kind of my current biggest want from the game.
See, that brings me to a follow-up question though of what what do you well, let's start with what type of new content would you want?
There's really only two main things that I think are really at least easy or possible at the moment, and I would love either a new game mode, um, or a complete like revamp of heroics. I think those are kind of the two biggest things that I would want at the moment. Um, Something to change heroics up so it's not the same boring, repetitive thing it is currently. That takes 5 or 6 hours from your week, and you get 160 skulls.
Yeah.
Or just something new. I don't know what new would look like, whether it's something with the community where you can get us all together, like clans, guilds, something like that. Maybe it would be some type of new boss that we could fight. Just something where the strategy is not go and you play Dr. Robo 5 times, and then you go and you play the event 10 times, and then you go back and play Dr. Robo, back and forth. Um, I feel like that's just repetitive and it doesn't make the game as fun as it could be.
Yeah. I mean, I voiced my opinions about heroics very frequently cuz oh my god. Even when I was very actively grinding this game, I you would rarely catch me playing heroics more than like a day, and that worked for me because that would get me into the top 1500, but now that's a little harder to hit from what I hear.
Yeah, the game is it's crazy. Top 1500 is I think it's around Ella now, or maybe
What?
Ella Daily or Xanthar Daily.
Oh my
Which is
god.
pretty hard
Daily?
when it used to be like 6 or 7 bosses, I think.
Oh my god. That's actually wild. Cuz I mean, if I mean people listening to this podcast should know heroics, but hitting Ella or Xanthar consistently is when you're starting out is actually a nightmare, and it's not really possible
Very hard.
until you start getting like a lot of research done. So you're literally gated behind this time wall, and they've even fixed the time wall. No more 48-hour research time for one combo. Now it's only
Dude,
a
I'm so
day.
grateful that they did that.
God, that was a nice quality of life change. Now that like every time I sign into the game and check out my research that cuz there's a lot of backfills coming out as well, and like I was like
Mhm.
playing my Lobo deck and I was like what the hell? It's not all research? What when did this happen? And so I went to
Yeah,
go
there's been a
research
ton of
it.
backfills recently.
Yeah, and so like when I did the research, a lot of the combos are actually like some of the premium defensive combos. And I'm like, really? What the heck? I wish I had this back when I was grinding Arena. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's great. Like they've been doing a lot of good work. I'm very grateful for Monumental and for the effort they put into the game.
Yeah.
Even when it's not always the direction that I would like.
Yeah, because one of the things, because I don't know if you get this feeling as well, but some people when they suggest stuff for the game Little Alchemist, it just feels like they want to play a different game that isn't Little Alchemist.
No, I would 100% agree that sometimes that feels like it's the case. It's really interesting how that works.
It's just because people, I don't know, it's hard to generalize here because people have 1,000 different reasons for why they want this or that change, but Little Alchemist is not like if you're trying to become the best Little Alchemist player, that skill ceiling has a hard cap. Like it's still hard to obtain for a lot of people, but there is a hard cap to it. And a lot of your skill in Little Alchemist is straight up determined from your ability to sink hundreds of hours into it.
Yeah, no, I'd honestly agree with you right there. It's it's really interesting. The game itself is it's hard because if you're not able to spend the time that it takes, it is very very hard to progress.
Yeah. Like just even my casual daily logins where I go fight the goblin and then maybe spend some of my energy in some of my arena runes, like I am basically not progressing in the game at all. The only thing I am sort of progressing is my card upgrade capabilities because like I have just a ton of upgrade boosters now just sitting around, but even then, I'm way behind the curve of people who are playing at the same time as me, where now they're getting, even you're starting to get like your fully fused Onyx deck, basically.
Yeah, it's really interesting how big of an impact even just playing, I don't know, 30 minutes versus 15 can make in your progress on this game. Like it is a ridiculous amount
Yeah.
um change that it can cause. That's
Okay.
something that I've definitely seen.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of the case for every game where if you put more time into it, you get more out of it. It's just with Little Alchemist, it I just I remember the meme saying of like it's a marathon, not a race, but like that was always so funny to me because like I play competitive online video games and those are marathons, right? But you get a lot more intrinsic validation whenever you are sinking all those hours into those games where it's like you're starting to climb higher in rank or you're winning more games than average and your performances go up. Whereas with Little Alchemist, like if I sink more hours into it, I get another fused Onyx combo card in 5 months from now, or I can hit 45 HP in what, like 3 months faster than what it would have been.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one of the biggest problems that I have with the game currently is just the time sync is the fact that if you even if you're placing this is something that we did the math on a bit ago is even if you're placing in the top like 35 or whatever L3 is at the moment, it still takes almost 4 months for your last 2 HP to go from 53 to 55, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
For it to take 4 months for minimal gain in the
Yeah.
long run.
And like
Um,
I'm starting to hit that wall where I'm at, or I have hit that wall where I'm at like 47 HP if I remember. No, not 47. Oh god. What was anyways, I'm higher up in HP than the average player because first
mhm.
off, that was one of the requirements I needed to make my Lobo deck better. And second off, like I have been around the game for a very long time now. Uh Oh God, I think it's
Yeah.
actually been 5 years now, which is wild to me. But like in that time, I basically now have a top 50 deck of what it would have been like back 3 years ago when the game was still unsupported,
Hmm.
which is not a huge change, you know? Like to hit top 50 back then it wasn't that hard. Okay, it was 47. It wasn't that hard. You could literally do it with fused autos and tiebreaker. Like it
Yeah.
was it
The
was
first time that I hit top 20, I had an auto, a Janus, and then a laser and a Monster Slayer, I think, in my deck.
Yep. And
Like
your deck was considered like one of the
one of the
best,
best, which
which
is
is,
ridiculous.
yeah, because you had whaled on the portal packs, so you actually got all the fusions for the gold combo cards, and you got all of the premium diamond final forms that are available through the portals. And this was back when the portals were unsupported. So, or unsupported, not rotating. So it very much like the your deck with any sort of diamond final form critical strike, even a crushing blow, would outperform the competition just so hard. So there's like two categories of player where it was the old guard where they've been playing since packs were in rotation, and then there was the new guard where it was like just the auto players with 35 HP with their Dr. Robo counterattacks trying to squeak out wins against Jokovic, which like the
Yeah.
wildest thing now to me is the fact that Jokovic is no longer rank 1.
It's well, there's been so many changes that have knocked him down, and it's really interesting to me that he's not. Fishpang's actually been ranked one a lot recently. Crucifix has pushed up there quite a few times. It's very interesting how it all works with just all the changes. It does take more time, I think, in Arena nowadays. If you want to be rank one, you have to play essentially every game and win 90% of them.
Yeah. And Jokovic's got like a family. He's got like how many kids? Like 3 kids or something. Like he's
Yeah, 2 or 3 now.
he doesn't have the time to dedicate to Little Alchemist in that sense. So like I always foresaw him eventually losing the spot of rank 1. And in fact, I did see Fishpang or AB getting rank 1 on top of him because they played the game a lot, right?
Mhm.
And it's just
Definitely.
we've hit that point now. Like the old guard is dead, long live the new guard, except they're also old guard, but there's also new guard, and also the meta for this game is kind of silly.
The meta has shifted a lot. This is something that we've kind of talked about in the Discord. But I've actually been recently using Master Healer as my main deck in the game.
Oh wow,
Not
really?
tiebreaking. Yeah.
Is it just
So what I
because
currently do is I'm running 2 absorbs and a curse, and then about 35 onyx cards, and then a couple gold and silvers that are defensive. And I just outlast opponents because absorb is so strong at the moment.
okay,
Very
that makes sense to me. And I mean, I always I had felt the sort of brokenness of stall for Little Alchemist way before anyone else did. Like
yeah.
everyone,
You were kind of the originator of the Labo decks.
yeah. I wasn't the first, but I was definitely one of the pioneers, right? Where I had seen the potential in these Lobo decks where it's like you literally, because the problem with climbing up to rank 1 back then is that even someone like Tap Dog couldn't consistently win against Jokovic, which is wild because you're playing against an AI, right? And that's just because the health amounts and sort of stats were just so inflated that I'm like, okay, what if we ignore health? What's the we have this alternate win condition of decking your opponent because that's always the case in card games. And
Mhm.
Lobo literally cuts out half of your opponent's deck if they're running a standard 35 card deck. And I was like, isn't this like crazy strong?
Yeah. I think it was so incredible when you first started building Labo. I think I actually disagreed with you for a while. We had that whole debate where I was like, "This is not going to work. Like, it's a waste of time and resources.
Yeah.
Dump in however many dollars you did."
Don't get me
And
wrong.
then,
It is a waste of time and resources for 99% of the player base, right? Because the
yeah,
the investment cost to actually learn how to play Lobo and to play it well. Like I I had basically forcibly injected more skill into the game with Lobo decks. And who was that one guy way back when who was like, if Lobo becomes meta, the game will become terrible?
oh, I don't remember who that was, but I think a lot of people shared that same sentiment where they didn't want long-lasting games.
And
Um,
now we're seeing sort of the results of that, where the games are becoming long
or taking a
lasting.
long time. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you go to Arena Chat right now, there's messages from Sora, from me, from Crucifix, from Melman, all of us using Master Healer, and winning matches at the moment, which is just crazy to me that that has become the meta where you deck your opponent down to 0 cards.
yeah,
Um,
because
takes a long time.
yeah, it's because there, I mean, I this is sort of like speculation on why this is now the case. First off, absorb is actually fucking nuts, dude. Holy crap. Well,
It's amazing.
yeah,
It's great.
because we could never, there was never a different power that was able to outperform critical strike. So if you weren't using critical strike in your deck, you were basically trolling because your ability to win games went down incredibly. And then for
Mhm.
Lobo, the alternate win condition, you had to use protection cards, but even then, you still weren't guaranteed the win that often if you mistimed your ability usage. But now, with Absorb, it ignores both of those things, where with the hyperinflated stats of critical strike cards, if you take an absorb card with like what's the highest absorb cards damage, like 38?
So, so the three best cards at the moment are Xanthar and Lucy. Both have 32-28. They break even with Sniper. And then you have the new card Arachnid Dudette, which is a 36-30 or 36-20, not 36-30. That would be
That would be
ridiculous.
wild.
And it loses out on damage to Sniper, but it heals so much more. So if you use it on a turn where someone doesn't use a final form, you heal more than you do with Xanthar or Lucy. And
Yeah,
then you have Sugar Demon, and you have Wizard or Wizard Apprentice or whatever it is, Ninja Sorcerer,
yeah,
um, which is they're both 34-23, and they heal very similarly to Lucy and Lucy and Xanthar, although I think it's one less stat total. But essentially, they break even against any critical strike, which is ridiculous.
yeah. And that is because the thing that you're always looking for in Little Alchemist is consistency, right? Even the way I play
Mhm.
my Lobo deck, once I get my 5 orbs, if I can tank a final form by just playing a defensive card and then wait for their next 5 orbs to increase the chances they have a diamond final form in their hand, I will take that because it increases my chances of decking out my opponent. With Absorb,
Yeah.
I don't have to do that. I can just send it out once I get my 5 orbs, and then I gain this huge HP boost. So if they don't use their final form on that turn, it's fine because now I have basically this buffer of HP to tank their next final form. Or if they send out a non-traditional final form like a curse card or a protection card, I'm still getting that HP back, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that's something that we've actually seen is there's players with only 35 to 40 health that are currently running Labo. I Love Dog, I think, is 37 HP. Kavid 907 has 39, and the two of them run Labo. And consistently share images of them beating players like Yoke, Tap, anyone who's on Master Healer pretty consistently, which is crazy to me. That Absorb now has that ability to make it so that's winnable.
Yeah, because often back when I was facing Tap and Yoke with my Lobo deck, first off, I want to go back to the point of like you didn't believe in my Lobo deck at the start, but then I had proven you wrong. And what was wild about that was the fact I proved everyone wrong when my deck hadn't even been fully researched or leveled up yet.
Yeah.
Like I was winning games with I don't think I was running any level 1s or stuff like that, but like I didn't have that many fused cards yet. God knows I only had like 2 fused Onyx combo cards, neither of which were defensive. One was toy, the other was oh, sorry, food was defensive. Food is one of the best defensive cards still if I'm not mistaken, but I have no idea. I'm so out of date for this game, but I had gotten a usable Lobo deck before it was even halfway upgraded. And before I even had Lobo, even. Like, I was able to show that I can tank through people's decks with, I forget. I didn't have, no, it was with Lobo. I'm like completely misremembering everything that happened then because it was so long ago and so much stuff has happened in just the game, the community since then. Like, Jark, I used to be known as the exploit guy, like
Oh, the good old days.
the good old days.
But I mean, speaking on those same lines of not even having it fully researched, I think about my Master Healer deck, and I run two Madness, Affliction, Demon, Invention, Love, Precious Ring Lore, two Voids, a Fire, a Sword, some of the most offensive cards in the game, and all at Onyx. And I say I win probably about 19 out of 20 games I play with that deck, which is ridiculous because a lot of the time I don't even have a combo with over 28 defense, and I still can go through that entire round. Like
Yeah.
Labo's just outdecking opponents is ridiculous how good it is.
I'm just I'm now just waiting for the time where this whole podcast becomes or at least this section of the podcast becomes irrelevant just because they changed something else that like made it completely irrelevant and now the new strategy. See, I want I want against everything for one of either Master Enchanter or Combo Master to become meta. I don't know how it would happen. I can't even imagine a way in which Master Enchanter somehow becomes the meta, but I want it to happen just because of how funny it would be.
I think if you play it right, the issue with it is you have to have an absorb and a critical strike in your hand. But if you play Master Enchanter, 3 orb on the turn 1, absorb turn 2, play defensive on turn 3, and then play another combo and critical strike on turn 5, I think you would win most games.
You
But
would
you have to
win.
draw.
Yeah, the problem is that it's so inconsistent, right?
You
Like that's
need
the
a critical
thing.
strike and an absorb in your hand, which is really hard to do.
Yeah, like people I mean just yesterday, I don't know who we were watching, but there was he just couldn't
Sammy?
draw his final form.
Yeah,
And like he's a top 26 player right now. And his deck was regularly playing just gold combos and it was competing at the top of the ladder.
yeah. It's crazy how much critical strike really can carry you so far in the game if you know how to play a correct play tiebreaker.
Yeah, or counterattack.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
counterattack is I still feel as if counterattack is still really slept on, but not that hard anymore. Like there was a point in time where it's like, oh yeah, no, just run critical strike above counterattacks. But like Fishpang ran Wolf Warrior in his top 5 deck when he was climbing, if I'm not mistaken. And like that was part of the reason why he was able to be up there consistently is because he could just win with the one final form just due to the amount of damage possible with counterattack. The trade-off is that it's more unreliable. You do need to time the counterattack for when your opponent plays their final form, but if you get the timing right, it's basically a free win.
Yeah, and it's really really powerful. Yoke's deck currently, although I do feel counterattack has lost some of its value with the absorb update
Oh,
because
a
absorb
hundred
still does
percent.
more damage now, which is crazy.
Yeah. Because absorb, what counterattack did was like, I'll take you down with me. What absorb did is I'm gonna neutralize everything you can throw at me.
hmm
And
Like
the
Yoke's current deck with um two Onyx absorbs in there, three of them, and he runs a regular diamond. I think he runs a sugar demon as well. His deck is so hard to beat now because he runs Master Elementalist and just straight up absorb. He just heals back to he'll be at like 130 HP by the end of most of my rounds against him, which is ridiculous on Master Elementalist, not
yeah,
healer.
yeah, no, it's game do be evolving. Which I guess like this is because you have to leave soon, right?
Yeah, I've probably got about 10 more minutes, maybe.
All right, then we'll do this final question for at least this first part. And honestly, this is enough of a conversation that I might just upload this and then we can see if we want to do this again. But what do you think the future of the game is like? Like we've talked about
Ooh.
how people sort of want a different game from Little Alchemist, and we've talked about all of these changes in Little Alchemist, but like what does the future look like? And more importantly, what do you want the future to look like?
I One of the biggest things that I want from the future is just finding a way to really make more of the community happy because I feel like a lot, and I know it's never going to be perfect, but I feel like there's so many times where an update comes out and it satisfies either only the top players or only the beginners, the new players. And I think that one of the things that could really help balance or make the game better is if they did some updates that if they found what the game wanted or what the game needed to really help both sides of that argument, build up whether they be um, top players, brand new, just making the game easier, especially for the new players. I think is something that I really feel for it because I I recently started a free to play account, a new account, and it is hard to progress, and it's really demoralizing when you have people in bronze 2 that are playing honest combo cards against you. Um, it's actually ridiculous, and so I'm just I think one of my biggest hopes is that in the future they find a way to balance that a little more, make it a little more fair, a little more easy for new players while still not disregarding the progress and the work that the older players have put in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's an interesting one cuz it almost sounds like you're asking for, I don't know how else to put it, but like more skill in Little Alchemist.
Yeah. I I think it would just be really good if there was less, if it didn't hurt new players much too, because I feel like it's very hard for new players at the moment to catch up with just how far ahead everyone who's been playing for anywhere up to 10 or 15 years versus a brand new player. I believe the game came out in 2014, so it's been about 10 years now. So players like Yoke, who's been playing for 9 years, or Fishpang, or Cap, it's just impossible. Even for players who've been playing maybe 6 months. Something we've seen with the game a lot is the retention seems to be really low. Um, the L3 Legendary 3 is the top 0.1% of players, I believe. Currently, it's 35 players, which means there's about 35,000 people playing Arena last week, and it's really interesting because just like 5 or 6 weeks ago, it was at 42. And something we've seen is it shoots up for a little bit to about 45, 40 to 45, and then it drops back down to about 35. Um, and so to me, that tells me that the game is struggling to retain players. And so I wonder what the step is that they need to take to change that,
I
to be
almost
able to hold on more.
wonder I almost wonder if the game can't retain more players than this. Like, because this is I don't know. Like we're way above the numbers we had back in the Dead era. Go figure. The game's like being
Oh yeah.
advertised and the game is being actively supported and there's balance updates and packs and before I had to talk people through how to unflag their phone so that they could actually play the game and I have explained that process to so many people now. but but it's more alive than before. But
Yeah, it definitely is.
I just I how it is this is like the $1 million question of how do you make it more alive than it is now, right?
Hmm.
Because
One thing,
you go
sorry, you
ahead.
go. One thing that Monty has talked about is he wants to make something where players can just play the game. Because one big problem with starting out is you just can't play the game. Like you're capped at I think 6 energy or 8 energy to start with. So you can do like 6 battles and then you can't do anything else.
Yeah.
And you can't play arena for the first month or two because you'll lose to every person you play. And so I think one of the biggest things that could possibly help the game would just to have a new game mode, like I was talking about earlier, or something where you can just play the game rather than having to wait. Because research takes so long at the start. When it's 24 hours for every diamond combo and 12 hours for every gold one, it could take you a week to even have 2 cards fully researched.
Yeah, it takes
Um,
you long. How long did it take me to actually research my Lobo deck the first time around? This was back with the 48 hours. But I think it took around like so, not including the cards I had already researched, I think it took me around a month to actually fully research all my cards. And I had been actively researching it for a while now, where I'd been slowly acquiring Lobo cards after my cat pack purchase way back when it was the first one of the first packs to get re-released. But it does take a while for new players to actually get to I want to say the good part of the game, but I feel as if that's also where a lot of players leave because once you get to the good part, you now see all that there really is for the game. Like you can't really become rank 1 in Little Alchemist, right? You would have to spend thousands of dollars and you're the prime example of this because you have hit rank 1, but the cost to hit rank 1 was a lot of money and a lot of time. And then I'm
yeah, I mean the
also
thing is I couldn't even hold rank one at the end of season. I finished 3 weeks in a row at rank one and then entered rank two at the end of that season,
yeah. And
going
then
with 36 HP.
yeah, but whatchamacallit, then I've also shown that to hit rank 1 it's just a huge investment. I had timed it kind of perfectly to hit rank 1 when I did. I wasn't able to maintain it either because first off, as soon as I hit rank 1, even for that brief period, I got so burnt out from the game. And then second of all, like I had sacrificed literally hundreds of hours both in and outside of the game doing optimizer stuff. Like I don't know if I can stress enough how long it took me to build my Lobo deck for hitting rank 1 using the optimizer cuz it as simple of a tool the optimizer is, it's really finicky when it does actually come to how do you use all this information that the optimizer is giving you, right?
Mm.
And like Jokovic was rank one for a long time there because he knew how to build a good deck and he had all of the good cards available to him. So when everyone got the good cards available to him, his skill edge had effectively been lost in the game, which is also another reason why he lost rank one, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm rambling a little here, but what should we end this off with, Chard? Should we end this off with a banger of how much money have you spent in this game? Do you even want
Um,
to share that?
well, I recently did some math, and I think it was lower than I actually thought. I was looking through some of my old purchases. I think I've only actually spent, well, I say only. Um, I think I've spent probably about $2,000 on the game, maybe about 2,500.
God,
Um, but when you take in when you keep in mind that a lot of that money was spent on the old offers back in the game,
I
when
remember those.
you had to buy makeup or whatever, and I resold a lot of the stuff that I did buy. Um, I think it's actually not as much money as I had thought. For a long time, I thought I was actually in the thousands, like that 3 or 4 thousand range. But after doing the math, I realized no, I'm not quite there yet. So
I
there
there
we
you
go.
have it, folks. If you want to hit rank one in Little Alchemist, you need to dedicate years of your life, thousands of dollars, and be a Discord mod. The easiest trifecta I've ever heard.
Yeah, buy some makeup too. It helps.
Yeah. I don't even know how many people are gonna get that joke because most people don't even remember the offer wall. Most
Oh,
people
no
have
one's gonna
never
remember it. That's
encountered
okay.
it.
Yeah, it is quite the adventure.
Thank God that they actually removed that thing. Oh my God. That was the most unequal thing in all of Little Alchemist for so long. Anyways, we'll end off with that banger. I'll let you go, Chark. Thank you for talking to me with this. I'll show you the final version of this before I upload this to YouTube so you get final say and all that. And once again, if you are interested in more Little Alchemist content, do not subscribe to me because I have no clue if I'm ever going to do this ever again. If you're interested in other content, also maybe subscribe to me because I also don't know if I'll do that, but probably. Any last words?
Uh, Stay safe. Don't die. Don't do drugs, boys
All right,
and girls.
you heard it from the man himself. Do drugs, die, and be dangerous. All right. Thank you, everyone.